Hi guys, PJ here. Today I'm working on a Dacia Logan. This is a 2015 model, and I'll be fitting a dash cam to the vehicle, to the fuse box, so that it goes on and off with the ignition system and hides all the cabling so it looks more factory fitted. Now, before you start following this video guide, I just need to point out that I am held in no way liable or responsible for any injury to yourself or damage to your vehicle. Okay, on with the guide. First things first, handy tools to have. Some snips, long nose pliers to reach those fuses that are set right back on some certain vehicles, not necessarily this one, but always handy to have. Plastic leverage tool, probably the most important thing in the whole kit here, what we're using. If you use a screwdriver you will damage the trim, so get yourself some sort of plastic leverage tool. You can buy them made by Bojo or Vibe. These are normally like £1 or £2, Amazon, eBay, that type of place. Local car shop even. Electrical tape, a couple of cable ties, and of course either a multimeter or an electrical test probe screwdriver, one of them things where you basically touch it on a circuit and it illuminates if it's live. Okay, because the fuse boxes differ from continent to continent wherever the vehicle is sold, whether it's a right hand drive, left hand drive, and also the spec, that's why you'll be testing your own fuses as opposed to just simply using the same fuse as me. I'm on a UK vehicle here, yours may differ depending where you are in the world. Okay, so next up, with your dash cam, you could buy a fitting kit for most brands. Okay, now the fitting kit is everything you need to hardwire it to the fuse box of the vehicle. It comes with a replacement power cable. This one terminates in a mini USB because that's what uses the next-based cameras. Yours may be slightly different. The other end terminates in an earth horseshoe there to earth it with, to an earthing bolt behind the dashboard, etc. I'll show you where. And a power cable to go to your fuses. Also in the pack is fuse spurs. Now these things are really handy. There's two sizes that come in these packs normally, or three if you've got a micro one as well. Normal blade fuses, these are used on commercial vehicles now and some older vehicles. We will not be using that on this Dacia. Get rid of that one. This is a mini blade fuse. This would be the correct size for the Dacia. There's also a micro blade fuse which has got the prongs a lot nearer to each other. Now what these are for are to double up a fuse socket. So when we remove a fuse from the fuse box, basically the fuse from the fuse box will go in the slot here at the side, here, and this will push into where the fuse came from. So the original fuse will be run via this one here, the original circuit, and your camera will be run by this 2 or 3 amp fuse here, so doubling up the socket. If you're not buying a fitting kit, again you can buy these fuse spurs from eBay, Amazon, just Google it, it's not hard, or even a car shop, local car shop. They're a very, very common thing and they make life so much easier. In the old days I used to solder everything, and if you've got a warranty or a lease vehicle, that is a problem. Last of all, you'll have a ferrite filter. Well, in a lot of kits you have a ferrite filter. This is to help with radio interference. Basically they're on a hinge and some clips on them, and they open out like so. And all you do is quite literally lay your cable through the centre of it, wrap it round the outside and then back through the centre again, and then clip it shut. Like so. Nice and neat, allowing a couple of inches of flexibility near the connector to the camera here. That leads straight on to what we're going to do next, which is, because this thing's going to go above your headlining of your vehicle. Now basically, I know British roads have got a ton of potholes. I'm sure every country's got them. But if you hit a pothole hard enough, you don't want the cable dropping down in front of your view, obscuring your view while you're driving. So all I do to beef the cable up is wrap a couple of cable ties around it, like so, and snip the end off them, like so, and then wrap a bit of electrical tape around them. And the reason to do this is because when you snip a cable tie, it can be sharp on the edge. Your headlining is made like of a fibre cloth substance, and you don't want it rubbing it and making a mess of it from the inside. It could potentially wear through. So it's just to pad it out somewhat, beef the cable up so it doesn't fall down from the headlining. It's just a little tip. You don't have to do that, but I've done it, well, for donkey's years, so it seems to work really, really well. Just space it out, put a couple along your cable. And then what you're going to do is get your cable, after you've wrapped your tape around it, pop it up above your headlining, like so. Now this is a right-hand drive vehicle, so here's the mirror, yeah. We're just to the right of it. You've got to keep your camera out of the wiper sweep to stay within UK law. So if it's in wiper sweep area, yeah, it's going to A, fail an MOT, and B, be illegal, so it's classed as an obstruction. So wiper sweep area, wipers sort of come to about here, so you can have your sucker up here and just sort of stick it in. Now your headlining, like I say, is quite fragile, quite soft. Do not go at it like a bull in a china shop. Just ease it down with your fingers and pop the cabling above it and tuck it in all the way along until you get to here, this corner right here. And then basically what you're going to do is remove the rubber trim here. So we're going to open the door, pull it off. Like so. Can be quite tricky, you know, it's a seal at the end of the day. Pull it off all the way down there we go, up to the top, and then you can basically get your fingers behind it and pop this off, as you see there. This particular vehicle isn't fitted with an airbag here, so nice and simple, we can just go straight down and across. If it was, obviously you tuck the cable behind the airbag. So if yours has got an airbag, just tuck it behind it, not in front of it, or go below it down here somewhere if you want to go down there. There we go. So just tuck that in. We're going to go all the way down here and obviously just tap this back on when we've done that. So we come to the end of the dashboard. Now this is where your fuse box is. We just sort of, there's a slot here, look, you see that? And basically it pops off. This is going to be awkward because I tried to do it one-handed. Everything's awkward when you're doing it one-handed. Really must get a helmet, Cam. Okay, there we go. There's your fuse box. And there's a nice area there to store any excess cable once you've bunched it all up and out of the way. So we're now down in the footwell. Yeah, there's your fuse box around here. If you take out the TX30 bolt, which sits just there, and remove your bonnet release handle out of the way, the TX30 screws into here. Basically clean that up to shiny metal. That's where your earthing point's going to be for your camera. There we go. I've replaced the horseshoe terminal on the end of the earth wire with a circle one there, as you can see, just for a better connection. And get the camera to focus. Hold on, guys. There we go. Clean some paint off so it's down to basically chassis metal. And we're going to pop that there and put the bonnet release back on and put the bolt back through. That'll be your earth. There we go. Mounted behind everything, look. That's a good earthing point. I mean, this sort of hooks in when you put it back, and then the TX30 holds it at the bottom. That's a good earth. We can now concentrate on the power, coming back to fuse box area. So now we're going to be testing some fuses. Now, with your ignition off, okay, we're reading 0 there, look. If you come across to here, now generally on these Dacias, the third row of fuses down are ignition switched. So for example, we need an accessory position fuse. We want nothing important, nothing to do with airbags, ECU, ABS or anything like that. Generally these two 5 amps are accessory fuses. I normally use these, so we'll touch the prong on it there. Third bank down, look, like I say. Yep, 0 voltage. If we turn the ignition on, that fuse will go live. That tells us that this is an ignition switched fuse. So if we turn the ignition on, we'll then read 11.5 or 12.5 volts on the display there, showing us that that is ignition switched. With the ignition off, we can now go ahead and remove that fuse. So, say ignition off. There we go, pull the fuse out, don't forget where it came from. And then pop the fuse in your fuse spur. There we go, sorry about the focus there. So that will run your original circuit, and the other one, the 2 or 3 amp, will run your camera. We can then get the fuse spur and basically pop it back into the slot that this came from. Like, can be fiddly to do because obviously you're reaching into somewhere, and it's also very hard one-handed. Bear with me. There we go, works wonders when you've got 2 hands available. So basically route your cable down out of the way, you know, around the relay here, and plug your fuse spur into the power coming from your camera feed, okay? Which leaves you with all this gubbins to get rid of. We will tidy that up and bind it up and basically hide it in the big gap behind here shortly. But before we do that, we're going to make sure the camera works. So with camera mounted, we can now turn on the ignition. And there we go, we've got a power light there, look, just at the bottom, and there's your camera coming on. Okay, so your camera now works. You're now free to basically tidy up all your cabling. To do that, simply bunch it up, tape, electrical tape, etc. We can pop it up under here, under this cubby hole, put the carpet back, cable tie it up to something so that it doesn't fall down. There we go, all tucked up behind the cable. There's your bonnet release back and everything. Finally pop the fuse box cover back on. There's a clip there, look. There we go. And that is how you fit a dash cam to a Dacia Logan. Thank you very much for watching, and if it was any help to you, please give me a thumbs up. Goodbye for now.